Welcome to Help, I'm a Parent, Christian Parenting in the Real World. We're your hosts, Drs. Claudio and Pamela Consuegra, and together we serve as the Directors of Family Ministries for the North American Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Today we'll be discussing the extra body parts that teens today seem to have developed. The additional body parts are earbuds or cords that stream down to electronic devices and devices with knobs and buttons attached to their hands. Our teens today would rather text than talk. How do we get them to disconnect with their devices and connect with us?
We're delighted to be joined today by Dr. Steve Case, President and founder of Involve Youth. In addition, he's the coordinator for the Intergenerational Church Concentration in the Doctor of Ministry program for Andrews University.
Dr. Case, we're delighted to have you here with us today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. When we talk about connecting and disconnecting all these devices, we want to hear first from some parents that are telling us is one of their biggest challenges. So why don't we listen to them?
Sounds good.
So I don't know about you guys, but these days, my goodness, phones, tablets, all devices, children are using them, teenagers are really into them. So many apps that they're getting into.
I think our teenagers are they've grown up with this device, with everything at their fingertips, but they're also using these games that are out there as an escape.
We got to remember too, computers, we like them because they're so intelligent, and they are programmed for the purpose of keeping our attention more and more and more. And so they're literally designed to trick or manipulate our kids and us into staying longer, and they'll use anything they can to keep those kids' attention, including things like pornography or each other. So we end up using people rather than communicating with them.
And the thing is that as parents, we have to be aware of the type of apps that are out there. Like, for instance, the big one right now with teenagers is Snapchat, right? Yeah. Snapchat, where they can Snapchat with a friend, and in 10 seconds or so, it's gone, it's deleted. So you're seeing a lot of teenagers nowadays, what they're doing is that they're taking inappropriate pictures of themselves and sending it to this person. But their inexperience doesn't let them understand that you can take a screenshot out of anything and then it's out there forever.
Right. So my question is, as a parent, how much of privacy I'm going to give my teenager, right? Before we know that they're getting into things like this. I think it's very challenging for us to create a line of trust, right? But at the same time, we want to find a way that we keep them safe. So, where do we draw that line?
That's an excellent question, Dr. Case. Dr. Case.
Yeah.
So they were saying, where do we draw the line as parents?
Yeah. Just I want to get a selfie, okay? Ready? Okay, and... Yeah. Let me just post this.
He's not paying attention to us.
Face this way. Ready? And okay.
So, anyways, but we want to go back to what the parents just said.
Yeah.
So,
you need to know where to draw the line.
Yeah. Where do we draw the line?
The cameras are rolling, Dr. Case.
I've already been retweeted 10 times.
But
Case.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We're trying to figure out how do we handle this with the kids who just don't seem to be paying attention to us.
Yeah. They ask, where do you draw the?
Yeah,
Dr. Case.
Willie Oliver says hi.
Oh, well.
You know Willie. Yeah.
Dr. Case, this program is on disconnecting.
I'm connecting. See, I'm connected with you. I'm connected with a whole bunch of people. I am connected.
No, Dr. Case. You see, we want to connect with you.
We're trying
if I
to
just
have a
put
conversation here.
Is that okay?
No, it just doesn't help us.
I don't
Willie's probably going to send another text message to you in a second.
I don't think that's going to work, Dr. Case.
I need help. Will somebody take my phone away?
Oh, boy, this is a difficult thing to try to have a conversation this way.
Wow.
What was the question again?
Well, where do we draw that line? Where do we have the conversation with our kids where we can say, please disconnect so we can talk face to face?
I've heard parents ask those same questions myself. And what I have found is that the parents want their children to disconnect. but the parents themselves do not disconnect. They are the biggest hypocrites. And the very first thing that they need to do is they need to model for their kids what they want to see in their kids. And I'll give you an example. Okay, you come to the dinner table, and we have a rule in our family, no devices at the dinner table. And so you see your kid bringing the device, and you go, no, 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 you don't get any food. You have to go put it away, put it over there on the counter. And then during dinner, you're texting under the table. And you think the kids don't know it?
I'm texting to my boss.
Of course.
That's different.
And they're only texting to their friends.
That's right.
And so you see the hypocrisy there. And so once you do that and you're called out for it, either you have to be the mean parent who is inconsistent and lowering the hammer, or you have to say, okay, go get yours, and we'll go back to texting, and we will not connect with each other.
You know what, I've seen also some parents who will say, I need the phone because I need to send a text message. You know, not everyone has a phone for everyone, every member of the family. So give me the phone, I need it.
Wow, yes. So I think that the first step for parents is to model it themselves and not be the hypocrites themselves. We find that we see it in our kids and we don't like it, and we just do the heavy hand on them, and that's it. And when it comes to technology, you know, it's been only like 10 years since the iPhone came out. And so we can't
seems
look.
Like we've always had it.
It seems like we've always had it. It's hard to believe that we survived without it. Did Noah have an iPhone? Anyway, so we look to previous generations and maybe ask our parents, what did you, oh no, they weren't faced with this.
That's right.
So we are charting new territory without any markers. And we also feel kind of intimidated because our kids probably know the technology better than we do.
No doubt.
Even though we're trying to use it as well.
We have to go back to them and ask them how to do the things that we don't want them to do.
And once they tell us how to do that, then we tell them, no, you can't do it. And it's just a bad situation to be in.
Yes.
So whatever boundary I draw in relation to technology, I have to be willing as a parent to step up to the plate and abide by that same boundary.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely.
Of course, you talk about not bringing technology to the table, but you go to a restaurant and that's there on the table. Everyone is texting or looking at Google or Facebook or whatever it may be. So what do? How do we tell them to put the thing down? How do we tell parents to not use it while they're so that they can enjoy a conversation with the kids?
You start off by modeling it yourself.
Okay.
So you model yourself and then you talk about it with your kids. And I said we haven't been over this territory before, but if you think more broadly, in a sense, this really is nothing new. Okay, if we go back to my teen years, before iPhones and before the internet and that kind of stuff, we had a landline telephone in our house, and we had difficulties because I have 3 sisters, and when they got home from school, they immediately went on the telephone to talk to their friends that they hadn't seen for 3 or 4 minutes.
Sure.
Yes.
And so we had to establish rules of when they could be on the phone, when they couldn't be on the phone. Being a guy, I didn't do it. My sisters were always on the phone. So it wasn't a cell phone, but eventually my parents got their own separate landline for the kids. And so you're dealing with the same kind of thing. How do you monitor that? How much time do you spend on it? And if you listen to what they were talking about, you would say it's inconsequential stuff.
Although some people would say, what's the big deal? At least they're not getting in trouble. So if they're talking on the phone, so if they're texting, at least they're here at home and they're safe. Let them enjoy the time. What's the problem?
There is a time for that, but there's a time not to have that as well. If you go back before telephones, and this is before our time, but before telephones, if you were going to have somebody sitting down like we are doing right now, the only way you would be interrupted is if somebody came walking in. So now enter a telephone. We are sitting here talking, and all of a sudden, ring, ring. I set you aside, and the telephone has priority over you.
So you're giving the other person the first place or the place that belongs really to your family.
And now what we're doing with our devices is we have a perpetual phone going on. And so whoever you are with is always second place.
Yes.
Well, and the truth is, Dr. Case, even if I'm with you, even if I'm sitting beside you in the same room with you or eating dinner with you, very often our young people are sitting there and texting someone right across the table from them or right beside them because that's the way they communicate. You know, FaceTime, face-to-face time has given away to, it's easier if I text you.
Yeah.
You know, I can get your attention that way.
Two things pop up right away when you start communicating that way. Number one, by going away from face-to-face and eye-to-eye communication, I am now going to a place where I can control things and I can be God. If it is just face-to-face, eye-to-eye, we will come to some awkward spots, and I don't want to have that.
Yeah.
So I want to control it, and I want to edit it. So I'm going to send you I'm going to change it. And now I have to say it just right. And now that I have it ready to go just right, I can send it. But if we do this right now, free form, I'm going to say some things wrong. And I can't do anything wrong. I have to do everything just right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk this way. In fact, I will not even talk to you on the phone anymore.
Yeah.
I will text you so that I can control the conversation. Furthermore, we have to keep talking now. But if it's texting, I can stop at any time.
Anytime.
But how is this overuse that we see of technology in our young people, how is that affecting their relational skills, you know, with each other?
A couple things happen. Number one, instead of listening to you for what you are saying, I am listening for you to affirm what I have just sent you.
Click
So-
like.
To like it or...
To like it. So I am performing for people rather than listening
Okay.
to people. And so young people, and I will say even adults, need to learn how to have conversations. They prefer not to have conversations, and they prefer to be connected to many, many people. And I could have thousands of friends or all kinds of people following me,
Yeah.
but I'm actually not really connected to them.
And they're not really
That's very
following you.
true.
They're only following some parts of you when you smile, when you're on vacation, when you're with friends or family. You know, sometimes as you took the selfie, it's interesting, we immediately take the smiling pose, but we know we don't always smile.
No, it's a false self
Yeah.
that I'm
Right.
promoting. And then I get you to like not me, but my projected me.
Yeah.
And I end up feeling lonely and rejected because the real me is not put out there. And so therefore, I'm actually more lonely
Yes.
the more I'm connected because it is so superficial. So what parents need to do is they need to get off the devices themselves
Yeah.
and learn how to talk with their children, including awkward times and pauses. They think it's a sin to be bored. It is not.
Well.
In fact, you need to have solitude for your brain to actually calculate things and find out, who am I anyway? This is my rebooting time.
Just like we need time for rest,
Absolutely.
we also need those pauses.
You need those pauses. And if you don't have that, then you really have nothing to share. And you can read those messages, and they're extremely superficial because I have not had any solitude to come up with who I am.
Yeah.
Right. And we've been talking about how to disconnect, but we're going to take a short break right now. And when we come back, we need to focus on how do we connect. So stay with us, and we'll be back right after this break to continue our conversation with Dr. Steve Case on disconnecting in order to connect. You can probably already tell that we will not be able to cover every area, every concern, or every question you may have in the short time that we have together. Parenting will continue to produce new challenges and new questions every day. As our children grow and change, so will the parenting challenges that we will face.
Therefore, our goal is to continue this conversation with up-to-date resources and practical parenting tips online via our website, helpimaparent.org. There you may keep updated on our newly released parenting resources, supplemental products, and find additional material for free download. You're also invited to subscribe to an electronic newsletter, read a blog just for parents, and much more.
In addition to that website, we have a Facebook page where we post daily words of encouragement and resources. So look us up. Help, I'm a Parent. And remember to share that Facebook post with the friends in your own social network.
It is our desire that this resource will assist you in your God-given role as a parent by using principles that are firmly grounded in the Word of God. Now let's get back to our conversation with today's guests. Welcome back to our conversation with Dr. Case. He's trying to help us understand the value, the importance of connecting with our children instead of allowing them to continue to be connected with technology alone. So, Dr. Case, we've talked about disconnecting. How do we then take the next step, the better step, which is to connect with our kids?
Yeah. Let me just say this other thing about disconnecting. I'm not saying never have a device.
Yes.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
Okay. But you need to set times and places for both.
Sure.
So you might say that after school and before supper, that's your time that you can be on your devices and
So
stuff
come
like
to
that.
an agreement with your kids as to how much, when.
Correct.
et cetera. Okay.
And the same is true for the adults in the family.
All right.
Okay. So then when you have time together, what do you do?
Yes.
And in your book, Help I'm a Parent, you have some suggested topics
Yes.
on things you can talk about. And again, it may be awkward, it may be difficult, especially if you haven't done it.
Yes.
I find it strange that parents want to connect with their kids when they're away from each other. Make sure you have your phone so I can contact you if someone is
Yes.
holding you up.
Yes.
Tell them, give them the phone and say, Mommy says don't kill my baby. And that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you're more concerned about them when they're away than you are when they're right in your house.
That's right.
So you need to set aside your work things too so that you can give your undivided attention to them. This is basic stuff. If you have a conversation, eye contact.
Yes.
Eye contact. Turn your body towards the person.
Well, but I'm watching the news or I'm looking at
Exactly.
my own email, and so the message
Yes.
we're sending them is, I just don't have time for you.
Exactly. And so they do not come out with their story
Yes.
because they don't have your undivided attention.
Yes.
Now, your brain can operate faster than a person can talk. And so that's why you can be doing other things and say, go ahead, keep talking, I'm paying attention. You might be paying attention, but I don't feel like you're paying attention.
You're not engaged.
You're not engaged.
Yes.
So in order to engage, you have to be completely disengaged from the other things, and you have to have the patience to listen.
Yes.
As you listen, try things like paraphrasing what they're talking about.
Oh, that's a good listening skill.
A basic listening skill. And I'm telling you, most people, including adults, don't have it
You're
and don't
absolutely
do it.
right, yes.
So you simply practice that. You can make a covenant as a family about what you're going to do, not only about devices, but what are you going to do as a family for something else? For example, what are we going to do to make our meals more than just eating? You bring a topic tomorrow night, you bring a topic the next night, I bring a topic the next night.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean
Great
the rest of
idea.
us can't come up with things
Yes.
as well, but you have that responsibility.
Yeah.
You don't want to have the parents fighting against the kids
Yeah.
on rules. We're in this together.
Yeah.
And you can say to them, on the technology stuff, what do you think is a good thing? I think it's vital that you be able to communicate with somebody face to face because some people are not even developing that skill into adulthood.
That's right.
But Pastor Case, we have so many parents tell us, you know what, this is reality. If I tell my children, unplug, take those headphones out of your ears, put your phone down, that they just sit around and say, what are we going to do now?
Absolutely.
We're not used to communicating face to face.
No.
And so then what are we going to do? We're going to sit here in silence because we haven't practiced the skill.
Yes.
This is new to our family. So what do you tell those families who maybe want to embark on this and really try this idea of disconnecting in order to connect as a family?
If you're not accustomed to sitting down face to face, then take an activity device free and do it. It could be something like a simple board game. It could be going for a walk. It could be doing dishes. It could be working in the yard. It could be doing whatever. Sometimes doing an activity when I'm not accustomed to looking at you eye to eye.
Yes.
If I'm doing something, then I can talk. In fact, I get to do short-term mission trips, and these are usually in places where people are disconnected.
Yes.
And they find they end up so much closer to complete strangers, and they don't know why. It's because they're not taken away. And by doing activities on the mission trip, they're able to start talking.
Yes.
But you have to put in the time before the things really come out. And again, having nothing to say, it's okay to have silence. It will feel terrible, and this can be an indicator that you are addicted to your device if you can't handle the silence.
You're just simply not used to that. And you mentioned two things that I think we want to emphasize. Board games. except for Monopoly, I would think, anyways, just because so many families get competitive and all that. But there are some wonderful games that encourage communication.
Yes.
For instance, we've talked about one called the On Game.
It's been around for years.
Absolutely. The simplest game because of only one rule. One person talks, everybody else listens. So that's one. But the other thing that you mentioned that I think is important, as you sit together with a family, sit to talk. Don't sit and watch a movie, which there may be a time for a movie, but when you want to talk, don't let technology distract you from that.
Let's try it this way. I have a box of donuts here.
Oh,
okay.
You brought it for us?
Oh, how
Well,
nice
some
of
people
you.
some people have already helped themselves to it, I can see. But if you were to choose one of these, just from the side only, which one would you choose?
I would choose the powdered one.
This
right?
one in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I
why
kinda
is
like
that?
the colorful there. Huh?
You like the colorful
Yeah.
one? Okay.
But why?
Why? Because it looks like it has some yummy cream
It
inside.
does.
Inside.
And you would choose
The colors, they kind of make
this
it
color one?
interesting.
Okay. So now right now, instead of us talking to eye, I just brought out something and we focused on this, and we could have talked on and on about this. And
Yes.
who cares about donuts?
Yeah.
The donuts aren't the point. The point is we're practicing conversation. Now, are donuts the healthiest thing? Of course not.
No.
Should I take donuts around with me everywhere I go? Every part of the house? When I leave the house, should I always take it with me? We don't eat that way, do we? There are times to eat, there are times not to eat. There might be a time for a donut, but you need to have other food too.
Yes.
This is our analogy for what to do with connecting and disconnecting.
Oh, sure.
We take our phones with us all the time. We take
Okay.
them to bed with us. We take them everywhere we go. That's like carrying around your donut box.
Okay.
Yes.
Inappropriate.
Yes.
And so you need to set time aside. Maybe you have a place in your house that's the docking place, and you put all your devices there when it's time to eat supper. And they're all there. They're not snuck into the dinner table. When you go to your bedroom, you go there to sleep.
Yeah.
The phone does not help you sleep. The phone interrupts your sleep.
Yeah.
So most people, adults and kids,
Yeah.
take their phones with them when they go to bed.
Yes.
Don't.
Yeah.
Go out and buy a cheap alarm clock if that's your excuse for having the phone. Get a cheap alarm clock
Sure.
and have your phone in another place because the room is where you sleep.
We could even paraphrase Ecclesiastes. There's a time for everything.
Absolutely.
A time to talk, a time to text. There's a time to listen, a
Yes.
time to communicate.
Yes. I should mention something else that often comes up about this, and that is parents are concerned about what are their kids getting into online with safety issues.
Yes.
And I want to suggest that the first line of defense should be the kids themselves.
Oh, how do you mean?
They know when something is coming through. Okay? So they need to be the first line. The parents need to train them to say, all this stuff is out there. Because you're mature enough to have a phone,
Yes.
you're going to have to manage the phone because I'm not going to be next to you all the time.
That's right.
Otherwise, if you're not mature enough to handle that,
Yes.
then you shouldn't have the phone, period. But if you're mature enough to have it, then this is the way it is. Maybe you're not mature enough, but I want you to have it. So then I have to set up more guidelines and I draw the line in a different place.
So what would you say to a teenager and adolescents about the kinds of things to watch for?
I would ask them what they are aware of first. And then I would tell them what I'm aware of. And I'm going to guess that I'm going to know some things they don't know, and they're going to know some things that I don't know. Here's another practice that you can do is when you are on your device at home and other people are there, and let's say you're surfing the net and you see something, just say out loud, "Oh, they have another one of these commercials going on here." And just say what you're seeing online so that becomes public information. That makes me sick when I see that. I know what they're doing. So this becomes a practice in the home so the kids do that as well. What about privacy for the kid? In a family, as the parents, you should have full access to what their device is.
Right.
In fact, instead of going and monitoring it, ask them to show you some of their texts.
That is such an important point
It is.
because there's so many parents who still feel that if they check on their children's devices, that they are invading their privacy.
No, you're the parent. You're the parent. You're not being the bully. You're just saying, tell me about your life.
Yes.
This is part of your life, so tell me about it. And then, parent, are you ready for this? You need to show your kids what's on your device.
Oh,
What have you been doing?
you're actually building mutual trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And with your spouse, Your spouse should know your passwords to everything and should have full access to your device.
Sure. What is there to hide between us?
What is there to hide? And if there's something to hide, then we need to talk about that.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that you mentioned if your child is old enough to have a phone, then they're also old enough for you to have those conversations with them about inappropriate content. Because let's be honest, our children don't always have to go looking for inappropriate content.
No, it's coming
It
at
finds
them.
them.
Absolutely.
It will find them. And so
Sooner than
if
you
we're
want as a
giving them a
parent.
phone, especially with internet access, don't do that unless you're ready to have those
Absolutely.
conversations.
So that's where you draw the line.
Yes.
And the line has to keep changing as they mature. And if they demonstrate immaturity, then you have to move the line back. But it's for the idea of getting them moved further along the line later on. You do want them to become independent, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I was able to buy these on my own. My parents aren't here to oversee me on this.
Yes.
I could eat the whole dozen myself. I can.
Sure.
So what I have to do is not carry this around with me, because I'll eat them all.
Yeah.
I have to set them aside someplace, otherwise I can't help but gravitate to them. We have a chocolate drawer in our house. My wife is Dutch. She has to have chocolate every day, a little piece. That chocolate drawer is all dark chocolate. I like milk chocolate. So it's full of chocolate and she has a little piece every day. And I don't eat it because it's terrible. We tried a chocolate drawer of milk chocolate, but it was all gone.
Yeah.
So
You
we
didn't
just-
have the control
I
that your
didn't have
wife
the control.
has.
So therefore, we don't have a milk chocolate drawer because I can't handle it. If I can't handle the device, then it needs to be away from me until I can handle it.
Wow, that's a great example to use. Dr. Case, thank you so much for being with us today. You have given us great help.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yes. We would also like to thank Dr. Case for taking the time to join us today. And we'd like to remind you to visit our parenting website, helpimaparent.org. There you will find additional resources and materials. And we also like to invite you to join us next time on Help I'm a Parent, when we will continue the conversation about parenting teens in today's world.
And until then, remember that God has called you to be the disciple maker of your child. It's the most important role you will ever have. And remember, the only thing you can take to heaven with you is your family. We pray that your home will be one where your entire family is connected, but connected to Jesus Christ.